This all began with a supplementary. We have had attempts by the Permanent Secretary, Madame Gerardine, who has petitioned several officers to block this investigation, citing Rule 199. But as per Rule 189A, D, E, and F, it is within our mandate to carry out this investigation. And therefore, we shall continue, and we shall present our findings on the floor. Now, Honorable Ministers, you are aware a supplementary was sought by the Ministry of Trade to move that ministry to a larger area or for better premises. From our findings, the former Permanent Secretary, that is Choda, Grace Choda, made a request for supplementary as the accounting officer. The supplementary came in two phases. The first one, in regards to this specific item, was 5 billion shillings. They later received another 3 billion shillings, another financial year, making it a total of 8 billion. They also received 2.8 billion to purchase cars for the honorable ministers. However, there are 4 different scenarios. There is a group that sought the supplementary. There is a group that decided not to shift. There is now a group involved in fuel. And there's also another group involved in purchase of vehicles. Now, the first group that sought the supplementary, it has come to our attention that even before the supplementary had been given, the former Permanent Secretary moved with the procurement officer, who was Lapiem, Mr. Lapiem, the head procurement, for a casual visit to 2 premises. One was Kingdom, and the other was King Caesar's building. They say it was a casual visit. But it is that casual visit that helped them identify, even before procurement had started, where they would shift to. There are irregularities in that process. Under normal circumstances, a market survey should have been done. This was not done, but that is what happened. So after the supplementary came to Parliament, Parliament approved it, and the money was released by the Ministry of Finance. However, the Permanent Secretary now, Madame Gerardine, wrote to the PSST requesting for environment of the first amount of money of 5 billion that was meant for shifting to renovation. Now, this was made in contravention of Section 22 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2015 because the said request was not tenable under the law and therefore void ab initio. Section 22 of the PGMA provides as follows. Environment. The minister may, upon request by an accounting officer, vary within a vote the amount of money allocated to the vote. Environment made under this section 1 shall not be more than 10% of the money allocated for an item or activity of a vote where the environment is from one item or another activity to another, be contentious or result into future liability for the vote or the government. The request was made to the PSST and not the minister. Under normal circumstances, it is only the Minister of Finance. I am sure Honorable Bahat knows this. The request was for 100% environment, and yet the law limits to only 10% of the money allocated. This request, therefore, should not have been the basis for a procurement of services worth 6.2 billion Uganda shillings, the expenditure that ensued as a result amounted to diversion of funds against the PFMA. However, in the PSST's letter, he advised the accounting officer, Madame Gerardine, to change work plans. It has come to the attention of this committee that the PSST approved change of work plan, but he has never seen that work plan. So, Madame Gerardine decides to do renovation. The process is started. Ministry of Works comes in. They do BOQs of 3.1 billion. They further make amendments based on the market value at that time. It is pushed to 4.6 billion by the Ministry of Works. The process of identifying potential people to do the renovation starts. And this is where the problems start. The head pass at that time, Mr. Everest, starts the process. A lady known as Rose, I believe she's a PA to one of the ministers, is tricked because we kept wondering how Ministry of Works quoted BOQs at 4.6 billion, and in the end, it went to 6.2 billion. Madame Rose is tricked that Mr. Everest is not in office, so she should sign Form 5. Now, Form 5 comes with 6.2 billion. Because we have interacted with the Evaluation Committee and the Contracts Committee to identify how or where the 6.2 billion originated, they have all informed us that Form 5 had the 6.2 billion, and therefore it's what they used to award the contract. So all in all, the price of renovation was inflated in that process between Rose, who is the secretary, assistant secretary, who was tricked and told that the person who was working on that same procurement was no longer available. Okay, so they award the contract to SARIC. SARIC didn't have the necessary requirements, but before that, there were two procurement processes that were initiated. The first one involved a company known as Ambitious Construction. It had all the requirements. It's the only one that submitted, and up to now, they are still waiting to do the work. However, that process was terminated, and a new procurement process started. And in the new procurement process, even the other company that was the only one that submitted the first time was not invited. Now, SARIC is invited along with two other companies. SARIC is given the contract without the necessary requirements. On top of that, SARIC is paid 80%, which is contrary to the law, because the law says you should pay 30%. SARIC was given 4.8 billion out of the 6.2. There is also an issue. Madame Gerardine committed government into a multi-year expenditure without approval from Parliament as required by the law. Okay, now we move. Immediately after SARIC is approved, SARIC starts the renovation. Now they need to shift the equipment, that is the tables and the documents, from the ministry to a certain location in Entebbe that was given to us by the Ministry of Energy at no cost. Now, the engineer at the Ministry of Trade, known as Byaruhanga, goes and identifies a company along the railway. He has forgotten its names. He just knows it as Green something. This company, but in the process, they first asked SARIC to give them a quotation for transportation of these documents. SARIC gave them a quotation of 457 million to transport the documents and furniture from Kampala to Entebbe. They said it was high, so they decided to take it into their own hands to get a way of transporting these documents. Now the engineer goes, identifies a company known as Green something. We are yet to establish if it is true, but he has confessed before this committee that he wrote to the PS and they agreed to pay this company through fuel cards. So we have confiscated the engineer's fuel card. We are trying to establish how much is on that card. But he was withdrawing fuel worth 2 million shillings for every trip from Kampala to Entebbe. I don't know what kind of vehicle that was. We asked him before the committee what kind of vehicle consumes fuel worth 2 million shillings from Kampala to Entebbe. We have also confiscated these gadgets, a mobile phone. I believe before we conclude this meeting, the reports are ready. We shall also read to you the findings of the reports. But we asked him how this has been happening in the ministry, and he told us, he has given us a document actually. The PS accepted, approved. So now you have given someone a contract, you don't even know this person, to transport sensitive documents of government from Kampala to Entebbe. Apparently he has a box body vehicle. He couldn't tell us exactly what kind of vehicle this is. But so far, what we know from what he told us, he was giving them fuel worth 2 million shillings for every trip from Kampala to Entebbe. They did not go through procurement. It is just a casual transaction. We have asked him how much they spent on the 2 floors already. He told us an estimate, each floor would cost 80 million shillings. And he told us you have already shifted documents worth from 2 floors. That's floor 5 and 4. So he told us it is an estimate of 160 million for the 2 floors. That means if you have to shift the 4 floors, you can imagine that is about 320 million from Kampala to Entebbe. Okay, as if that is not unfortunate enough. Mr. Tom, the office attendant, appeared before this committee. We were trying to establish if it is true he's doing procurement as alleged by the head procurement at the ministry. It has come to our attention that it is true. We wrote to the Accountant General, who wrote back to us confirming that this office attendant actually even has a password and a username to access the procurement system. We interacted with the Permanent Secretary, Madame Geraldine. Her justification was this office attendant actually has a degree in procurement. Well, whether that is still justified for an office attendant to do procurement, Mr. Lapiem, the former head procurement, informed this committee that the office attendant was the one who did the procurement for the vehicles. Those are the 5 vehicles that were given to the ministers. Now, there's also an issue of whether the vehicles you are driving are actually second-hand. Because the process was started by the ministry, the current permanent secretary stopped the process because she said the supply of vehicles within 2 months was too long. So she decided to identify her own supplier for these vehicles. They went to a bond known as, we have traced the vehicles. They were purchased from a bond that belongs to one Mafavi, known as Kampala Modernity. According to the Ministry of Works that did the inspection and the permanent secretary, they still insist these vehicles are new. We have traced them back to their origin. They were all purchased in Sharjah. We have identified all the specific bonds they were purchased in through PIVOC. You know, when you are bringing a vehicle, you do pre-shipment inspection under UNBS, and that certificate has the exact mileage and exact bond where the vehicles were purchased. We have also gone ahead to write to our mission in the UAE. We are now trying to establish if they even had registration number plates before they were taken to those bonds. So the issue of the vehicles is not yet conclusive because we now want to have a bulletproof report that no one will challenge, because we are now dealing with people who are very good at press conferences. So this committee must have enough evidence to prove, but maybe you will tell us if your cars are used. If you say that I saw the Honorable Minister Mwebesa He said this guy is moving, so it was new, and he has no problem. Okay. The vehicles that were purchased, the person who supplied the vehicles is still demanding money. And yet Parliament released 2.8 billion for these vehicles. He came to our committee represented by his lawyers, and they are demanding 160 million balance. I don't know where you're going to get this money, but that is the story of the vehicles. Now, the issue of the procurement under the PPDA of the renovation, under the PPDA, the guidelines number 1 of 2014 regulation 1.2 provides restricted domestic bidding. The companies that were invited to do renovation shall be used if the estimated value of the works is greater than 200,000 but does not exceed 200 million, sorry, but does not exceed 500 million. The contractor that was awarded for this renovation is already above the threshold and therefore in contravention of the PPDA Act 2003. So you can see where we are going. But now, we are looking at a total of 8 billion that was given to the ministry. The permanent secretary up to now has failed to give us accountability for the 8 billion. We are now tracing the accountability backwards. We have now traced, this is a bank statement of Footsteps Furniture. By the end of the day, they should be in prison. The Ministry of Trade sent 54 million on 30th of June 2021 to Footsteps Furniture to provide furniture. They again sent another 54.7 million to Footsteps Furniture, and they supplied air. This is a total of 108 point something million. They have gone to the ministry to try to backdate, and they have failed. So you have a ministry sending money, dealing with a furniture shop to supply air and share money. Now we are now working backwards because your permanent secretary has failed to give us the work plan for the 8 billion. So now we are tracing pieces by pieces. We have 3 of your staff. 3 of your staff, Rosemary Asimwe, Nelson Baliejusa, who was the senior accountant, and Evarista Himbisiwe. They have siphoned 362.316 million using fuel cards. We don't know how much you are giving these people for fuel, but now this is part of the 8 billion. It has also come to our attention that the ministry purchased laptops without going through the formal process of procurement, purchased laptops for the people on floor 5 and floor 4 to go and work from home. The total was 200 million. Up to now, we don't know how much was spent for each laptop. We don't know who supplied the laptops. You can see how the ministry is being elusive. But we are told 200 was also spent on the laptops. Now, Mr. is there, your engineer. I see him at the back. He can confirm. We don't know how much was put on his fuel card, but he was giving 2 million shillings for each trip using his fuel card. Each trip that was taking documents and furniture from Kampala to Entebbe. They would go to a petrol station, and he gives them fuel worth 2 million. He's there at the back. If we are telling lies, he can confirm. So basically, we still have about 2.8 billion unaccounted for. We don't know what has been used for this money. We also want to give you an update that there are infights in your ministry. There seem to be groups and camps and whatsoever. So I don't know how you're going to sort those issues as honorable ministers. The procurement in the ministry is done casually. No systems are followed, no processes are followed as per PTPPDA. So we just wanted to give you an update. I cannot give you all the details because the report is confidential. But we wanted to give you an update on the few findings. So far, we are still tracing. We have received, I don't know if the police has arrived, so that we present to you the police reports. We got court orders. We took Mr. Byarhanga's phone. We also took Mr. Tom, the office attendant's mobile phone. And there is an init at the ministry who seems to be the dealer. The dealer, the broker, I don't know what she does at the ministry. But now, the conversations are between the PS init, Byarhanga, PS init, Tom, the office attendant. I'm sure the police will be, I'll read that report for both mobile phones. If it is not very long, I'll read it for you. So basically, that is a brief of what we have so far without giving too much information. I don't know if you wish, honorable members, you want to say something?
Yes, Chair.
But remember, the ministers are not under investigation.
Procedure. You talked of 160 million of the vehicle. The actual figures are 180, not 160. The balance.
Yeah, pardon? Demanding 180, the balance. Because I think the permanent secretary was supposed to get a smaller vehicle, but she decided to move like the ministers and get one like Honorable Minister Mwebesi. I've seen you in a press conference with her defending the vehicles. I don't know if you'll go back for a press conference, but you will be in trouble. So we didn't want to have press conferences every now and then. We just wanted to give you updates. Engineer is here, maybe before. I don't know.
Procedure.
If you want to say something, procedure.
The procedure, Honorable Chair, I don't know whether it would be prudent enough. There are some members that have come in this meeting. Want it to be procedure right for members to introduce themselves? We get to know each other.
Get a seat. Maybe the ministers think we are talking. We are so that you. You need a microphone. You come and sit with me here. You come. Honorable Minister, I'm sure you don't mind giving him your microphone. Okay? Maybe just for the record, because people may think we are talking things, some members were not here. This is the engineer, a very qualified person at the Ministry of Trade. You can introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Engineer Byarhanga, Principal Engineer, Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives.
Okay, Engineer Byarhanga. Which companies have been transporting documents from Kampala to Entebbe and furniture?
Chair, I'm sorry, you'll excuse my memory. I still remember the name Green. I gave her the receipts. Maybe she can help me refresh.
Okay. Are you the one who identified this company?
Yes, I'm the one, Honorable.
Okay. How have you been paying this company?
By fuel, Honorable.
How much have you been giving them per trip using your fuel card?
2 million.
From Kampala to Entebbe?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of vehicle have they been taking these documents in?
Honorable, as I said, I remember it's a closed-body truck. The other details, I do not have them off record.
Okay. How much money was put on your fuel card?
Honorable, I can't have that figure off head right now. But I did share the requisitions that were made for that activity with the clerk.
Okay. Who authorized you to pay a company 2 million shillings per trip from Kampala to Entebbe?
Chair, this was just a proposal we had made to facilitate moving of documents from Entebbe to, from the ministry to Entebbe.
You made a proposal, but who authorized it?
The proposal was to PS, Honorable.
And the PS authorized you?
Yes.
Was there any formal procurement process carried out to identify someone who was going to transport sensitive government documents?
Chair, at the time would not allow us to do a formal procedure because the contractor was already on site and we had already issued commencement orders for him to begin the work.
And you don't remember this person? Okay. The first company that was supposed to transport, that had put in should I say, an invoice,
Quotation.
a quotation. Which company was this?
Sarik.
How much was it going to charge us in total, according to the quotation?
I think about 400 million. There are some other figures.
457. Okay. Do you believe the process you followed is much cheaper than the one getting Sarik? What is Sarik? Do you believe your process, you as an engineer, is cheaper?
Yes, our process, I believe, was cheaper.
Okay. Okay, now you can see we are not telling you miracles. He's your engineer. He has just confessed. Do you have any questions, members, before I ask the honorable ministers to make comments? Yes, Honorable Edakasi.
I just wanted to know from the honorable ministers, and I thank them for coming, all of them, whether in their management meetings, whether, this thing has been there now for a while, whether there was anything on all these issues that it ever came up or not, whether they had an opportunity to hear any of this. I thank you, Chair.
Okay, but remember, they will just give comments. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, as you are giving the story to the ministers, I was watching their faces. It was like they are surprised at what is happening. Chair, the 10th Parliament, as Minister of Trade, we didn't, as far as I remember, we didn't meet such a mess. It's a can of worms, really. Because Honorable Ngobi is a senior minister and a member of parliament. Honorable Bahati, very senior, and he knows all these mathematics, and he knows procedures. The Honorable Mwebeza, whom I interviewed, said he was ready to work. The Honorable Ntavazi did say the same before us. Is this the kind of work you are doing for this government? Don't you think you are failing government as Minister of Trade? Don't you think you are failing the president? This is very serious, because what I've heard from the chair, fuel cards, backdating, not following procedures, selling air, lots of money. This is serious, really. Because, Chair, as they sit there, they must know that this committee is waiting to hear from them honestly about this matter. Actually, for me, I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed. So as we go along, please do be honest to this committee and tell us the truth. I thank you, Chair.
Okay.
We also need to bring to attention to the ministers that whoever in that ministry gave an advice to the PS contrary to what she wanted was interdicted. So we also need to intervene into that, because people are interdicted when they are innocent. People are just interdicted because they have refused to allow what the boss is saying. So that is what I wanted to bring to the attention of the ministers. Thank you so much.
Honorable Kello.
Chair, thank you. Chair, I have only two issues. One issue that I took very seriously during the investigation, but that did not appear in the brief you have given, in the summary, is about the dismissal of staff from the ministry, apparently by the PS. And also, the taking off senior staff from the system, replacing them with junior staff. I wanted to know whether the ministers are aware. Number two, Chair, I wanted also the ministers to try and inform us whether they were aware that this committee has been under constant threat over this matter. I thank you.
Okay. I saw the Honorable Minister Mwebesa on a press conference with the PS telling the whole country that they spent only 53 million. 53? To transport documents. Was it 53? No. On the TV I saw 52 million. And I remember the PS even putting her salary. If at the end of the press conference, maybe the minister can tell us if it is true also, because the engineer is here. If it is true that what they told the country is true.
Actually, Chair,
Or if you misled the entire country to believe that you are only using 53 to transport documents. Information.
Chair, in press conference, I thank you. I think it would be good for the Honorable Minister Mwebesa to even tell us or inform the country the two monkeys they were referring to, which are in the Ministry of Trade, because according to to that press conference, him alongside the PS, but most importantly the PS, but he was there, she talked about the monkeys, two monkeys at the Ministry of Trade who were now exposed. So if the minister would be kind enough to inform us, but most importantly the country, the two monkeys at the Ministry of Trade.
Okay. You know, you should leave people to carry their own crosses. I don't know why some people... Okay, Honorable Odero, is that information?
Yes, information.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. And I want to thank our Honorable Ministers. Actually, on further to that, to Honorable Mwebese, he have heard what you have communicated about what the engineer used to do. I would like him, as a minister in charge of the ministry, to highlight to the country or to this committee whether whatever took place, it had his own blessing as the in charge of the ministry.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. When you talked about the press briefing where our senior Honorable Mwebes and the PS were, something woke up in me, because what came in my mind was like, now, Honorable Minister Mwebesa is a senior minister. Actually, I would term as the conference they had as a very sad incident. Because I was wondering, in my own, I was wondering why a senior minister like Honorable Mwebesa could go to pose a situation like all is well at the ministry, with the PS who is already under fire with very many allegations against her. And the senior minister appears as if he's going to defend the PS.
Maybe,
and on the media.
Maybe he's going to tell us. Maybe he knows she's innocent and everything in the ministry is good.
Does he have what it takes to say the PS is, because the PS is under investigation, she was even in this committee, she faced a committee. Does the minister tell us that he has all that it takes to defend the PS in this matter? Because that is what it appeared to be. And then, Honorable Chair, there is also an issue. We want the team of the ministers. I'm very happy that they're finally all here. Can they confirm to this committee that their relationship is cordial as ministers in this committee, under the ministry? I thank you.
I think they.
My name is James Olobo. I represent the people of Kyoga North in Amolatal district. Chair, we have had, since I joined this committee, have had meetings here, and I wish the police was here. And we have handed over people who are misinforming us here to the police, because they are totally bare lies, which you see, like that man is telling us time was not there to follow procedure. At the end of the day, you are going to hand over to police, and after 30 minutes, you find a man walking on the street. It has happened in UNBS. The director is now missing, yet he was handed over to police. Are we proceeding well? The police is in question. They should tell us if they are not ready to do the work here. Some of us have come here not to joke around. We want things, when we handle like this, should be, we take it up to the end.
So what are your prayers, Honorable?
My prayers is that the police should tell us whether they are doing the right work. The police.
Okay, but when they come, I will make a ruling. They are preparing the brief on the mobile phones, but they are coming in any time.
My name is Ssenyonyi Mamad, member of this committee. So, Chair, having heard from a summary that you have presented a summary of findings by the committee, wouldn't it be procedurally right if we give the ministers the opportunity to react on some of the things that they have noted? Members, we can come in and...
We invited them here to give them a brief. They are not under investigation. There will be no more need to question them. It's not an investigation. They are not accounting officers. So I wanted members to ask for clarification so that when they take their leave.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we have gone through a lot in our investigation. We've never had a moment where technical staff are hard to get information from them, like we have done with the trade. You remember the PS, the engineer, up to now, after even going to the police, he is not certain of the amount. He doesn't know the company that took the document to Entebbe. It is really touching. I don't know whether they are, and this is not only now. Even when we went to Ssenyonyi, we found a very, very hard time to get information from technical staff. I don't know whether there is a very strong hand or because a strong person working, telling them that answer these or do this. We need to know, because when we were sharing with the permanent secretary, he even said that he can't leave the ministry. Whether we do our investigation, whether we find him faulty, he won't leave the ministry. So we want to know, the minister, are you in control? How do these officers come to existence? What process do they go through to be given these offices? Because they seem to be above you, they seem to be above us. What is happening? If if they cannot really hearken to what we ask them, if they cannot hearken to what we tell them? Eh? We need to solve this inequity quickly. Thank you.
Okay, but just for it, I was listening to the recording of the previous meeting with the engineer. He told us shifting one floor up, he was giving us approximate. He doesn't remember. Doesn't remember how much. But he told us approximately one floor would cost about 80 million, and they can play that recording. 80 million. So shifting 2 floors, that means that's about 160. Shifting 4 floors, that's about 320 million. In Kampala to Entebbe, where we are not renting, Ministry of Energy was very kind to give us free space. Okay, yes, Honorable Kayemba.
Thank you very much. There are a lot of problems in the Trade Ministry. We have this probe, and UNBS is also exposing a lot of rot. And when even you look in the cooperatives, a lot of bad things happening there. I want to know, is the minister really in charge? Are the ministers in charge of this ministry? Because every problem you find in this country, they are in Trade Ministry. What powers, what disciplinary powers do you have over the permanent secretary or any accounting officer in case you find problem that might cause losses to this government? Otherwise, Honorable Chair, we might even be led to investigate the capacity of these ministers, because everything is happening on their ministry and they are looking on.
I think you might have to withdraw that statement, because all our proceedings are recorded. Because it is the same parliament that approves these ministers. And I believe they were all approved. Therefore, they have all the relevant qualifications.
Yeah, Honorable Chair, what I'm saying is right. These things are happening in their ministry.
Maybe you may ask if they are in charge, but you have to withdraw that statement regarding...
Of the capacity to supervise the ministry when everything bad is happening in that ministry. I don't know how I can withdraw such a statement, sir.
But
maybe you can guide.
They have the qualifications to carry out their mandate because it is our parliament that approves them. Okay?
Yeah, because we requested for the list of the cooperatives that were benefited, their certificate of registration.
I will consult the clerk and give you an update shortly.
Thank you.
Lastly, members, we need to... Yes, Honorable Kalwanga.
You talked about the laptops, but you didn't mention about the transport that was paid to take these laptops to the users. 29
million. You see, the ministry purchased laptops from the report of your internal auditor. It's not our report. We interacted with your internal auditor. What is her name? The lady? The internal auditor? A very tall lady? Olive. And the report is here. The ministry spent 29 million to transport the laptops. I don't know from where, maybe to take them to the beneficiaries. But there's a 29 million to transport laptops. Maybe from abroad, I don't know. Yes, Honorable Tom.
Chair, thank you so much for calling the ministers here. It's not that we are missing you, but we wanted to update you what's in your house. Some of you, your names have been misquoted or misused during our investigation. I remember when the accounting officer said one of the ministers advised that the building was condemned and not fit for them. The toilets were not being used, so that's why they took the decision of renovation. So, since it was not documented, we never wanted to follow it up, but I wanted to bring it up so that everybody gets to know that maybe the horse's mouth we can hear what is the way forward. Because for us, as members of parliament, our interest is to protect value for money and also to know what is taking place, especially to support the development of our country. Honorable ministers, we need to do a lot of checkups. Because if you find a member having a card, a fuel card, over 100 million, is using that card to withdraw cash from the petrol station, that is corruption or theft or robbery. I don't know how to term it. So we need to cross-check with the fuel cards of our peers and whoever holds the fuel card. It's very, very important to cross-check because somehow, somewhere, they may also use your name to tarnish you politically. Some of you are like us who are looking for votes. They may tarnish your name in the end, which will also affect our country. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
And one thing I forgot to update you on, we interacted with the landlords. That is Uganda Property Holdings. They told us, you people are supposed to just pay service charge of 11 million shillings per month. 11.6. The former PS who wanted to shift, first of all, had never raised an issue concerning the current state of that building with the landlords for them to do renovation. But on top of that, they are demanding you 400 million shillings. You have decided to now do renovation, you can't even pay the 11 million per month. Now you have areas of 400 million shillings and you want them to even do renovation when you have failed to pay a single 11.6. They were never consulted on the status. There's no formal communication that the status of the building, you need to renovate here, there's no communication at all between the ministry and Uganda Property Holdings. They were only informed that people are going to do renovation. But the first step before you sought to shift should have been to ask them to do maybe renovations, and maybe they fail or you fail to agree. There was no communication, but the worst case scenario is you have failed to pay even 11.6 per month. It has now accumulated to 400 million and you can't pay. It's not even a priority. Anyone else before the ministers, because after they speak, we are not going to ask questions. They are just here to be given a brief. They are not under investigation.
Did a good job summarizing our thoughts and the quality of... I implore you that you allow the ministers to respond now so that we can redeem time.
Because at least for footsteps, with your guidance, these people who supplied air in 2021, we are yet to get who was involved, but for the directors of this company, they should be arrested today. It's unbelievable, unheard of, that a company of reputable stature can get involved in, because this is their bank statement, even the Ministry of Trade transactions, we also have your bank statement from Ministry of Trade. We are now following money. Honorable Kello. Then the ministers, Honorable Mwebesa.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, in regards to the engineer, I remember you said the police representatives from the police are still to arrive here. And when they do, they are going to either provide us more or enable you to give us further details. Chair, I propose that we listen to the ministers first. Thereafter, we can receive further information from the police, and upon that, take it.
The Honorable Minister. Are you comfortable with the engineer next to you? Don't go far. You stay there. You don't know, you may leave and disappear. Honorable Minister. Maybe you can pull back.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. want to thank you with all the members of your committee for having called me to expose of the many things that you have just mentioned, and so that the nation knows what is going on, and maybe also that at this stage, if we can take some collective action, not punishing people, but to save the country from hemorrhage. First of all, I want to thank the member, Honorable Okello, who interviewed me at that particular time when I joined the ministry. You can see, she said, when they interviewed me, they found me fit, that I could do the job without any doubt at all. But when I entered, I had also taken some consultations of my fellow political heads in that ministry on issues which I didn't know. As some member was saying that you have got 3 ministers there. I did that. Now, on the matters which are at issue, it is this procurement for the house, for our building where we are at the moment, the renovation and joining it. There was a permanent secretary whom you mentioned. On interviewing her, I mean, on meeting them in a kind of a management meeting, I found that had something to do. First of all, I didn't know a thing called environment supplementary, but by environment supplementary and how the government finance is being managed. But by good luck, I have a team who were with me in that ministry, whom I could consult that what goes on in this particular matter, as I said, in this particular matter, as the Honorable Okello said. And for the matter of the procurement in regard to the renovation of the building, I found there was a new was an acting PS, so I was told. And the first thing I learned that the PS is an accounting officer. And also consulting my political colleagues who have a political role to play, like yours you have done today, of protecting the Republic of Uganda and carrying out things as they are supposed to be done. And what they told me, and which is known, and which is known, is that I got an impression that an accounting officer is a supreme person in matters concerning accountability, in matters concerning procurement, in matters concerning finance, and he was an overall person. So I consulted my team of ministers, and to come to the point of the procurement of the renovation of the building, it was an ongoing process going to start. Either we stay in that building and renovate it, or we renovate that building. And all the figures were done, and it came up, it reported to me that the best way was to renovate the building. As regards the hiring of other buildings, I'm one of the people who turned off, excuse me, as regards that issue of where to go whether to hire buildings out. As chairman, you narrated the story that people had to go on a market survey of where we might go. I only remember in our initial management meetings about this issue of shifting to another place, they brought up proposals either to go to Kingdom or to go to another building nearby our place. At the end of the day, I took my own initiative to say, we cannot go to Kingdom. There is a building called Kingdom, which was proposed. I said, the nature of our people who come to do a business with us are people from the rural area. And I said, that building is so magnificent, and after all, it is highly priced. I don't expect somebody who comes from Kayunga or from any part of this country coming to look for a Minister of Trade, either for a license, to find his way in that magnificent building. On that one, I said no. That is what I interfered in that building. And for the other, Mulenga, I am told it is Honorable Mulenga, the one you mentioned. It was also found to be. So the decision of finally saying that we renovate, I had also to consult. I was told the permanent secretary in the president's office, by name of Mr. Kakandi. Mr. Kakandi, I consulted him, and he said, yeah, it is a better thing, you renovate the building, and it's all right. Now, about this story of environment, of supplementary, of everything,
maybe
my immediate minister...
Honorable Minister, sorry for just some clarification. You found that renting Kingdom and King Caesar was not a good idea?
For the business we do.
For the business you do. And there has been a contentious issue because you seem to have participated in the decision making. Maybe you can tell us how, as the head of the ministry, how you requested for supplementary to shift, and later you decided it is not a good idea.
That's why I was telling you. I was coming to consult my people who were experienced.
Why didn't you ask for money to renovate directly? Why did you ask for a supplementary to shift first?
As I said, my colleague ministers, as somebody has mentioned it, they were in the 10th Parliament. They know all this language. I told you that about environment, supplementary. She did not give me that test, the one who interviewed me as a member of Parliament, to go to the job of a ministry. But I'm knowing that the ministers I have knowledge about all that language you are talking about, whether it is asking for money, whether it's environment. But eventually, now I've known what it means after hearing all this case. But I had to ask Honorable Bahati, who was an expert. After all, he had been in the Ministry of Finance, and see to drive, after we had made a decision that we stay in that building, to drive for either environment. I didn't know about supplementary, but I came to know. I am not claiming now that I'm ignorant. So, and after doing that, when I understand the money was given by Parliament, then the money was handed over to what you said, of which I learned, and which is true, that the accounting officer is the permanent secretary for that business, for that type of activity. And I talked the permanent secretary who left. They were dealing about that issue and the details of that. My minister knows. But then later on, when the new PS came in, about handover, about financial accountability and everything, I was not involved. And now coming very fast,
I think,
Chairman.
Because we just wanted you to make comments, but you seem to have been involved. So members, I think, want to know. They have just sent me a message here. A honorable member is asking because we all appreciate renovation was a very good idea. I think everyone is in agreement. But the members also want to know, since you know that renovation was a good idea, why did the same ministry ask for money to shift? Then there have also been issues. How did you identify Kingdom and King Caesar? Because in my summary, I told you the former PS went there on a casual visit. With the procurement officer, they were together. So members were, this whole Kampala, how did you come to Kingdom and King Caesar's building? When there are many buildings, you can even do a market survey. You can, so they just, since you are saying you are involved, you are in the meeting.
No.
You said you sat in a meeting.
No, I did not sit in a meeting. Okay. When the idea of shifting to any other building generally came, the question of market survey or anything was known by the accounting officer and whoever was doing it. I was not in any way involved in looking for the building for doing that. Okay. But then when it was brought to light to me that they had gone and done a survey, which you are talking of, I don't know whether, you know, in things in government, as I was interviewed, are all written down by statute. You can't change anything. You don't lead me to say that I was involved. I could never be involved because that was not my role. But then, at the end of the day, it came to my knowledge that renovating was the best order, and of which I had also thought of as a reasonable person. And from that time, the things were handed. They were first dealt with the first, as you narrated your story here, about what is happening. They were done by the previous permanent secretary, and when this permanent secretary took over, it still went on to say that everything is done by who? By an accounting officer. And the whole thing, which is here, anytime I had queried, as many people are saying here, that I'm not in control of all this, anytime I had to say anything about regarding or what you are mentioning out here, they would say it is not your job, it is the job of an accounting officer. And an accounting officer has nothing to be told to. It is only until recently.
The honorable member wants to just say this. You try to advise at times, and the accounting officer, who is the PS, tells you it is not your job. Okay, now you can.
Yeah, that's the clarity I was seeking. That did you try and the PS said, please, this is not your area, this is my job.
Yeah,
in which instances, maybe just be specific. On this matter and this matter, I tried to advise her, and she told me it's not my job.
Yeah. What you are saying about, I'm now talking generally. You get what I'm telling you.
Regarding the issues you have had.
About the one I have had here, like the engineer. I want to tell you the truth. This man, I see him in the corridors of the ministry. But when I want to talk about something, I go to the PS directly. And I say, what is happening about this? And as you said, Chairman, another thing I wanted to tell you of what you are leading to, of saying that I went up on the second issue I wanted to talk about, that I went up to the media. I went to the media, I was clearly heard. I said all these things talked about are matters of the accounting officer. And the accounting, I said, let him be interviewed and be said, let him show the furniture, let him show everything. I was not trying to plead for him, as you have said.
What, was furniture supplied?
That's what I'm saying. When I on the interview, you heard me saying, I say, if he has got those things he has, then there is nothing wrong.
But has furniture ever been supplied to the ministry?
I have no idea. I have no idea. And then again about the cars, you have just said that I said I had a car.
Is the car you're driving new?
Chairman, I've been in many cars, I've bought so many cars, and I don't want to complain. They gave me a car, a government car, to do a job, and I sat in it and I started doing government work. The only thing which is mentioned, which I've just discovered today, is about what is they call a fuel card. I want to tell you, if I am allowed to say things like this, you know, I feel sometimes...
You are allowed and you are protected.
I'm almost taking government to court or to law. Because I've been spending my own money.
Yet people...
Now I've heard so many people have been taking in millions and so... Eh? I'm telling you, I've been using my own money.
So
I'm just compiling all this. You know, I'm a man who knows accountability about things. I want to ask government to pay me this money, regardless of anything, because I cannot be charged to do a job.
Chair.
Let him finish.
That's true. Just to let him remember, the same engineer you have been meeting in the corridor, he also has a fuel card.
Who?
That man, you see.
I have just said that this is an engineer. And it is something very serious. That's why I want to thank you people.
How do you feel when you hear that you are using your own money for fuel and the engineer who sat next to you is giving a certain company 2 million shillings fuel from Kampala to Entebbe? How do you feel? And you're going to meet him again in the corridor.
I'm saying that this is the man who has been taking my money. If you, gentlemen,
Chair, the budget for fuel is 800 million.
Excuse me, Chairman, I'm basically a man who knows accountability and business and money. And I think as she interviewed me, she saw, the Parliament of Uganda saw that I could do this job. But then, these odd things have happened in my ministry, and I'm glad that this time, let them be investigated. I don't want to take it long and waste your time about it. You have done a very good job to have called me here. But of late, when these things started being like this, like that, I started wanting to get a definition of an accounting officer and to what extent he can go to. So,
have you got it?
Chair, before the minister conclude. Before the minister conclude.
Is it a question?
No, I'm just trying to find out from him. Because he said he had been meeting those people on the corridor. Since he was appointed, has he ever had time to have a staff meeting with the people whom he's going to work with? And that he tells us he doesn't know people he's working with.
That will be another. That will be, Chairman. I'm getting relevant to what you called me here for, and I don't want. Otherwise, we shall talk until the end of time.
Okay. I've come here to talk.
I want you to carry on your work, and you get, if you can take leave of yours.
Okay, and maybe we want to hear the voices of our honorable ministers, because we invited them here to update them. In that ministry for a very long time.
Honorable Chair, I want to thank you so much for the opportunity and colleagues. I would also like to thank you for what you're doing, especially your oversight functions. I would also like to regret a few incidents that have happened without our knowledge, and your brief is an eye-opener. It's an eye-opener, and where possible, we shall rectify what went wrong, but also, you know, the procedures of government. There is policy and there is implementation, so each has a limit. For example, the issue of the fuel cards. For me, I've had the fuel card for the past 6 years in that ministry, and it has held. I remember when I met the committee last time, I have had a 1 million shillings fuel consumption per month for 6 years. You use it for 2 weeks and you start purchasing, like my minister is saying. Little did I know that the other fuel cards, so that's the eye-opener I'm talking about.
Chair, even the budget for fuel is 800 million for your ministry.
Can you imagine? So that is an area where we want to uphold the committee. Then, Chair and colleagues.
Honorable Minister, just some clarification. The person in charge of these fuel cards is your PA. Is this true?
The person, no, he started, I think, a year ago, but he hasn't been. And I've continued to get the fuel I've been getting.
But he's your PA?
Yes.
Has he ever mentioned anything to do with this fuel going to the engineer?
No. Even in the accountants, I didn't know that the accountants can have 300 million shillings on their account for fuel. I'm learning it from here. Then, honorable colleagues, suffice to note that all these colleagues of mine are new in the ministry. I was in the ministry, and you are aware the kind of structure we are talking about. I had an office, which I unfortunately left for Harriet in Tabas. I took off, I flee to former Werike's office. Why? Because we didn't have a minister for industry, but we had a state minister for trade. Now, what would happen is that I would shift. Quite often, people would see me by the corridors, going into Honorable Werike's office for biological functions. Now, assuming that office was held by a lady. So, I discovered there was a problem. Then, too, we got a minister for industry on appointment. That meant that we needed an extra office. So he also joined us. In the process, the transition, because my colleagues lost elections, I was there, but I was also not sure I would be there. So I would like to assure you that we are competent. But in the process, I talked to the acting PS that now we have another minister. The structure, you've seen how we've been. Kindly see if you can do the needful. I ended at that, and I shifted. By the time Harriet came, I think they had installed the toilets in your offices. So, remember, I also have had an old car. I remember I reported to the committee for 6 years, and that car almost burnt me. It caught fire in the middle. You remember, those who were here, I reported to you. Then I said, you people, better a live rat than a dead lion. I would rather be a rat with my family than a dead lion. So I said, I park the car, and where possible, I can use a personal car. So, Mr. Chairman, do you need to ask me why I checked whether the car was new or old? The moment they gave me a new car, comfortable, I said, oh, here I am. God bless. What I can see is the car had the new polythene. I didn't check the mileage. I've started driving it. I've driven it for 2.5 years. On Honorable Mwebesa's...
Just some clarification.
Yes.
We are told your cars already have a huge bill at Wamuku.
Quite often, any vehicle can get spoiled.
New cars?
We take them for repairs, especially the rims. These cars are big, and the rims either jump off, she almost lost her life, or they break. It could not be either new or old, but the mode of car. Even now, you go to a rim, you put a tire, you see the rim breaking.
That bill I saw of Wamuko, is it only for rims?
I don't know, because when the vehicle gets spoiled, you tell the driver for repair, because we're still under guarantee. So they move. So, Honorable Chair.
Who gave you a guarantee for this vehicle? Because we have seen the contract.
No, we've not looked at the contract. Our role is when the car gets spoiled, you tell PS, my car is down. PA, my car is down, and they do the necessary arrangements. Then,
the other issue, Honorable Gume, you have been in that ministry longest. These are new ministers.
Yes.
Tell us the story of shifting to Kingdom and King Caesar's.
I was in office. My colleagues lost elections, Mr. Chairman. I seemed to have survived there alone. So I called the acting PS that there's a problem with these offices. One, the office space because we have a new minister. Then the acting PS installed toilets in those areas which were lacking, and all the 4 ministers had accommodation, yes. Remember, I told you I shifted and went to Honorable Wike's office. Now the shifting and the renovation.
You tell us about shifting. That is where we need
shifting. I cannot commit myself that we said we shift. No.
But you had meetings as ministers.
We have ever met once with the Honorable Wike. I mean with the Honorable Mwebesa in chair. And his statements are what he raised. And from there, it was so quick that we got a new PS and things started moving. You would see, for me, I wouldn't bother about the office accommodation. I've tolerated it for 6 years. So I continued doing my work. Then all of a sudden, people started renovating the offices.
But we have minutes where the issue of shifting was discussed.
Under Choda. The acting
Tell us
PS.
about that meeting.
The minutes, Choda briefed the meeting that she has asked for a supplementary. To renovate needed 25 billion. To shift needed 5 billion. Yes, renovation, I have those minutes, I hope they have given to you. Renovation needed 25 billion. Renting, 5. Now my logic is, if you're renting at 5 per year for 5 years, that is 25 billion. If you are renovating once for maybe 10 billion, who is being effective? The problem was the law, the procedure, which is not our responsibility with these people. The procedure is the responsibility of the technical people. And when I came in to mention about this also, is when we had that 400 million shillings, that's the only minute we have now, had been used to transport books, files from the ministry to Entebbe. That's when I raised it, and it comes to his press conference. I'm sure I raised it, and I said the ministry, I think you must put right what we are reading in the press. Is it true that you used the 400 million shillings to SWIFT? You remember it is minuted in a management meeting. You had better make a clarification on this. Then she said 53. I said you had better go and make a clarification because everybody is saying 400 million to SWIFT. That's how Honorable Mwebesa maybe quote it and use the 53.
So now what do you think of your engineer?
I think every man...
In the meeting, just a minute. In the meeting, the PS told the country that he used 53.
Yes, that's what she told us.
But now you have had your own staff. And even the process of paying the people who are shifting. It looks dubious. Why do you pay people through fuel?
I'm also now getting surprised. Engineer, you have to explain to these people and carry your cross. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would like to request...
You are still here with us. Let's finish.
I would like to
the ministers need to move.
That, as talked to you earlier, I would like to end at this and request that as a politician, when I saw Honorable Agar running out, I knew we were going for the same burial in the ginger. So,
Chair, I'd like to ask the minister one question.
Yes.
Honorable Minister, how did the Choda come up with a bill of 25 billions and the renovation of 5 billions, whereas we have a sister ministry of works, which normally does the work for the government? How did you come up with that bill?
We were not consulted, but it is in black and white. That's why I've quoted it in her supplementary
She didn't present an justification?
No. Because remember, the 2 ministers were not there, and I was alone.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we can excuse him.
Thank you.
I've heard the minister, and he says that he has been in the ministry for quite a length of time. I'm asking him, you know, you are a minister, and you see things going on. They are trying to renovate, they are trying to do each and everything in the ministry. And you say here that that is none of your business. Does it really... Are you in charge? Because at least I'm not a minister, but I would say what is going on, what are things, where did you get the money? I would think, Minister, you are the overall. And in fact, there is another question that was not answered well.
It's not the overall, just for the record.
That they asked the minister, why did you ask for environment when you knew that the structure needed what? Repair. And he said that he did not know environment what, and in fact was saying that again he made a consultation with some people and he got to know what they call environment. But when he got to know the environment and supplement and environment, why didn't he go?
I think you're asking the minister to answer on behalf of the accounting office.
The accounting office.
Because it was the PS who wrote.
Chair of the committee. The PS for environment must seek authority from the minister. So you don't say, where is the environment? You don't look for it. If you are denied that information, so you have no knowledge, so you can't act. That is the answer I have. Thank you.
You are excused.
Thank you so much, Chair and the members. I really want to thank you for this opportunity of helping us clear this from the corridors and from the space of the media, because it is really something that is tainting a bad picture to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperative, which seemed to be the heart of the economy. My name is Harriet Ntabaz again, the State Minister for Trade. I'm the most junior, I would say, minister, because I found some of my colleagues had already been ministers, and the Honorable Mwebesa, being my senior minister, is also senior to me. I have listened very carefully to the report findings and the observations. And there is one thing that I wanted to start with. When I came to the ministry, I was the last person to enter that building because my office had problems, like my colleague has said. So they told me they were still working on my places of comfort and all that as a woman. And when I came in, we had no an arrangement of top management by that time. I attended, I would go to the minister of, the senior minister for 3 of us and the PS and agree on certain things. But top management idea was initiated by the Honorable Bati, later on being one of the senior ministers from those senior ministries, told us we cannot continue taking decisions of the ministry in a caucus. We must have a top management, an organ of the ministry. And really, I want to thank him before you that this was a brave idea, which was picked by my colleagues, and we started on top management. By that time, Chair and members, I found it was COVID time, and they told us that the ministry is operating only at 30% of staff. So the key technical officers, including the commissioners, and maybe deputy assistant commissioners, were the ones who came to our eyes and our interaction. So the rest of these members of staff, like him, were not known to us. So I want to say that maybe this is because I've been seeing him, but I did not know his designation. I'm learning it from here because it's not part of the top management that we normally interact with. And I had, I think, less business with him being in the Ministry of Trade. My engineering part is not very, very important. I mean, it's not very important to my side. So I am seeing him for seriously as my staff today, but I've been seeing him around. For the issue of accountability, Chair, I want to thank you because when this money was, when I came to understand this money, as a new minister and very excited, when they told us that we were going to have a more further building and nice and what, King Caesar and King what, I thought it was a good idea. But later on, as the processes went on, there was change of administration. The other PS went out and another PS came in. So the rest of the details of changing from renting to renovation, I think since I wasn't the head of the ministry, I could not know the details. So that one I cannot explain because I just heard the noise in the building, and the building had started being renovated. And if you asked me who took the contract, who did what, I cannot explain because I'm not at that level of that decision making. The issue of my there is a challenge that we've always put before you, Chair. Whenever there is a problem in the ministry, more especially repair of cars, fuel, I recently lost my life, the tire burst, and the rims went off and all that. The issue, the complaint has always been that our ministry has no money, and that the money that we normally get is less. 2.5 billion cannot run a whole ministry. So for us, we thought that was the case. We don't have money, there's no money, and what? I'm surprised to hear that we have money, and the fuel cards are holding up to a tune of 8 billion. Eh? 800 million for one card, for the whole ministry, including me. So I'm surprised because me, I had even to hand over my card to the officer in charge of transport.
Your senior minister is saying he wants a reimbursement, but we don't know how much he has spent on his. How much should they refund you?
It's not little, including my bodyguards' allowances and all this sort of thing. It's not little, but what I'm putting, as I've just heard, as a by the way, as I said, my money is my money, but my job is also my job. I had to advance my money on the hope that my employer, which is government and which is you people, is there a way I can get reimbursement of the money which I've spent generally?
Maybe you tell us how much you have spent on this fuel.
No, I will give you the details here. I will give you a minute. If I can get a reimbursement and where you know the money is. No, please remember. Chairman, I beg you.
We shall look into those matters.
No, Chairman, I beg you. It's a serious matter.
I think if you establish how much, we can see how to handle it.
Maintain my job.
It's a serious matter indeed.
So I wanted to conclude, Chair.
Can you conclude then?
No,
Chair, thank you, Honorable Minister. My name is Zafid Rarono Amadi from Madiokolo District. That's a quick one, that Honorable Minister Bahati initiated a top management kind of idea at the ministry. Would you really clarify that not even at one point, to your knowledge, in the top management meeting, that the idea of moving away from renting to renovation was really brought to the top management meeting, because that is the apex? At one point, was that idea brought or shared with you or not?
Officially in the top management, I cannot say yes because I don't have that minute. But I heard about it. And I thought it was maybe a decision taken. Like you had my senior say, he heard about it. So we thought it was a good idea also financially, But I did not sit in a meeting like this and decide on it. So that one, I can answer it like that. But I heard about it. Now, in this top management, when the queries started, we got concerned. And we requested for this information. We said, we need this information. There is a lot of things going on in the media. We need to clear our house. What is happening? Now, the details of that record we've not yet received because we had requested it from the PS and head of technical service together with the teams that were involved, but we've not yet gotten the breakdown of how much was used for what and when, and the companies and the names and all those. Because if the engineer himself cannot remember the companies, then I could not really be the one to remember because I was not told. So we have we were still waiting for that information to reach us so that now we can come to the media, either to Parliament when asked, and clear the air. But to tell the truth, there is no fight between any of us. Our duty as ministers one of them is to supervise. In our way of supervision, when I ask for information, and I tell that maybe why this one is not coming clear is maybe we did not follow the PPDA, or maybe we would not follow the right what? Procedure. Did we do that? That's not a quarrel. So for the media to capture that maybe there is a fight between this one and that, really, I've never, for example, me, I've never fought with my PS. I've never fought with any technical staff. But sometimes we can disagree on principle and say, if this one was followed like this, it would be better. And then they guide like this. We are the accounting officers. We know this procedure very well. Okay. So that one is cleared. There is no fight. I've never fought with Bati. I've never fought with... So if there is a fight, maybe somewhere, but a disagreement maybe on the procedure, that one can happen because not all people think the same. Okay. So, Chair, I think that is me.
Honorable Kayemba has just some...
Yeah, before she concludes, I just want to know, how much money are you getting for fuel per month? You as a minister.
I have taken time without getting fuel. And I don't know, the last month I got fuel because I had even handed over my card back to the transport officer. Not until last 2 weeks when they put 2 million. After a long period. So I don't know how much I'm supposed to get per month. Like my colleague is getting 1 million per month. Me, I don't get it.
When did you stop? When did you stop getting? Which month did you stop getting fuel? And how much were you receiving at that time?
There is one time they put for us something like 4 million, and it took us for some time. But I cannot get that record since I'm not the driver. My card was given to the driver, and he's the one. When I fail to get, when I hear him ask, we don't have fuel, that's when I realize that the card has no fuel. But for sure, my driver controls the card. I gave him that opportunity. But I don't think, for the last 3-4 months, I've been buying the fuel from my own pocket.
Chair.
You want to ask?
At the beginning, I asked about the summary dismissal or transfer of staff from the ministry, and I requested that they make comments on it, and we are coming to the tail end. Looks like I'm not getting it. Could you tell us if you are aware?
The honourable member is saying there are a lot of dismissals at the Ministry of Trade. Are you aware? Have you tried to look into these dismissals in your management committee?
Since my senior minister is here, I think he's going to answer that.
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask you, Honourable Minister, did you, in the recent top management meetings, when you said when we started inquiries, you had a meeting, did the PS attend that meeting?
The PS has been attending meetings, maybe the last one, when she told us she had lost somebody, then she did not attend. So, Chair, I think I submit. This is what I could really tell, but I'm so glad that this committee can now come up like this before the report is on the floor of Parliament. You take us through, and we understand these issues, because we would really get ashamed on the floor of Parliament to be ambushed like this. Really, I want to applaud you from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank you so very much, because this is the spirit. And the other spirit, Chair, that I wanted you to help us is to identify the key priorities of our ministry, and then identify the gaps, the funding gaps. You fund us, you give us money, so that when you are querying us like this, we know that you gave us money, you set priorities, and we did not do the right thing. Really, you are our mother ministry, you are our mother committee. We should really be mothered as a ministry. We should not be coming here for firebranding, but for guidance. Thank you.
I'm looking at the fuel cards of the whole entire ministry. I think you need to take interest in this document. Everyone is enjoying fuel except the minister. I can see PMO, Assistant Commissioner, Principal Accountant. They are withdrawing 500, 400, 600, 1 million. This is 2023, July. So if you are not getting fuel, you need to ask for this document. The only minister I see here is the Minister of Cooperatives with fuel. Okay, Honorable Bahat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, colleagues. I want to appreciate the role of the committee in ensuring that that the funds appropriated and allocated to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives are spent according to the laws and ensuring accountability, transparency, and value for money. I want to applaud you, Mr. Chairman, for doing your job as an oversight committee to our sector. I personally, when I was appointed Minister of State for Industry, it's my nature to continue focusing on the bigger picture of why I am there. And I'm there to ensure that ensure that the legislative agenda of the ministry is put in place and completed. That's why you see that, and I want to thank you for passing the competition bill. I want to ensure that our industrial base continues to grow from currently 26.5% to 35% in the next 5 years. I want to ensure that we add value to what we are producing. For example, ensuring that our cassava is processed into starch so that we can supply the pharmaceuticals who are importing almost $100 million worth of starch. I want to ensure that our cotton is processed and the minerals. Those big pictures are the ones that I'm looking at, but also interact with the committee to mobilize resources to implement the priorities of our ministry. And that's why we keep coming to you to tell you our priorities and the funding gaps that we have as a ministry. Regarding issues of accountability, once these resources have been mobilized and put in the ministry, that's why we have an accounting officer to ensure that these resources are spent according to the priorities and according to laid down procedures and the laws of government. I have zero involvement in spending money of the ministry. Zero involvement. I have zero involvement in spending resources of the ministry. I participate in mobilizing these resources, but when it comes to the application of these resources, it's the role of the accounting officers to make sure that they are spent. When I came, we didn't have the top management, and I advised the new minister, who is from the private sector, that managing government is a requirement by standing order by public service that we hold top management, so that all these decisions of the ministry, also get to know the ideas. It's like a think tank for the ministry. Let's put our heads together to how to run the ministry. Sometimes when administrative issues come, we talk about them. If they don't come to the committee, rather to the management, we do not. The last time I think I was briefed about the rent issue was when the acting PS was there, Madam Grace Choda, who made the point that she needed some resources to shift us to another location, because as a Minister of Trade and Industry, yes, we have cooperators, but we needed a new face, as you have seen in other countries. Minister of Trade is a very fantastic place to be, that we needed a new face. She made an argument that she had been given 5 billion. Out of that 5 billion, she would use part to do the furnitures, and then use 2.5, I think, to rent. And then she was making an argument that after renting for 5 years, government will also be completing the one campus at Bwebaja, and therefore by that time we will be going. So she was approximating that probably she would spend around 10 billion on rent during this period of 5 years, and after that we shift to the one-stop center campus at Bwebaja, which the government is building. So the other issues, I think you have the authorities consult whether the vehicles were new or whether they were old. The authorities consult are in place and the procedures, and I applaud you for what you are finding. And I think maybe, ministers, now that we have what is happening, we should be able to, once these recommendations are adopted by Parliament, to consult the appointing authority, to consult the head of public service. What do we do? Yes, it is true, as ministers, I cannot sack. I don't think he has the powers to sack a commissioner. But what if a commissioner is a thief blatantly? What happens? Can a minister just sit and look on? I think we are going to consult the head of public service, or can he inform the head of public service to take action? So they are very interesting findings that we are seeing, and we want to thank the committee. But as ministers, we are concentrating on the policy level. But this time, I think now that we have been revealed what is happening, we need to put our heads together with the head of public service and appointing authority, and make sure that we clean up the ministry and ensure that we implement the priorities of the ministry. Because while we focus on the bigger picture, but if these details continue to come, they might stand in the way of implementing. Because I'm sure that the time you have spent looking into these figures, if it was spent which is a good work, if it was spent on looking at the priorities of the sector, maybe we would get more value than this. So this is very important that we clean it up, and want to assure you that once the recommendations are done, we shall process them using the laid down procedures, and make sure that we take corrective
Just
action.
some clarification, Honorable Minister. The former PS said that building had been condemned, and we have looked at the report of works. The building was not condemned, and she was using it as one of the reasons for the need to shift. I don't know what reason she gave you ministers when she met you in whatever meeting for a reason to shift.
To me, the only reason which you see, I've been given opportunity to serve in government for some time. So if you come and tell me Parliament is condemned, it doesn't excite me or do what? Because I know that there is a procedure to qualify that. There is a Minister of Works is the one which has the authority to do that. So the only point that Grace was making at that time, which was attractive to me, was that as a Minister of Trade and Industry, we needed a new face to have a ministry where you have, because we receive investors, we receive industrialists who come to us. That is the point that was very attractive. We said, do you have the money? He said, I've got the supplementary. And then I will be shifting. The other point she made was that I will be shifting to Webaja in 5 years. that is. But the issue of whether the building is condemned or what, I don't even listen to it even for a minute, because I know that as an individual, you can't just tell me this is condemned and then accept or not accept, no. Because there should be an authority to do that.
I just raised it because the current accounting officer before this committee told us, when she met you, you told her the building was condemned. Maybe you want to clear the air on that matter.
Yes, zero. I've never done that, and that borders just malicious statement, and the committee should not consider it, but I forgive her. I forgive her. I think the question, that's diversionary, the question in place is, there was money for rent, you fired it. Did you follow the procedure? And did you have value for money for this that you fired? I think those are the two questions. Once those are explained, there should not be any big problem. Because sometimes we make decisions actually to vary, but there is a write-down procedure. You can't go beyond 10%. It is in public finance management. If there is another procedure, maybe if the law has changed, then, and she follows the changed law, then that is fine. So I don't think that is a big problem as long as you explain the support of your decision.
Honorable Kalwanga.
Chair, one of my colleagues asked something in line with the monkeys that were mentioned by the PS. And all the ministers, they're almost done. And they're not mentioning those monkeys within the ministries.
Maybe, Honorable Minister, the press conference you had with the PS, you know, the fact that you were there with her, it shows that maybe you had agreed on what to say together. So now that she's not here, maybe did she tell you which monkeys she was referring to? You remember that press conference you had with her?
The press conference gave me a chance to explain to Ugandans about what was being said. And I had only put forward the person who was concerned, who was the PS, to explain to Ugandans on what he was doing with that money and everything. But as it comes out, it has come to your attention. And I think it will be bringing up more details about that.
Okay. Honorable Minister Harriet, Rose is, I believe, your PA. This is the lady who signed Form 5 that was granting, because Ministry of Works made estimates, BOQs at they did 3.1. Then they further did the estimates basing on the market prices, and it went 4.6. Now your PA Rose went and signed Form 5, shifting the money from 4.6 billion to 6.2 billion. Has she ever shared anything like this with you?
I think I have to accept here that Rosemary is my PA. And she was brought to me by government. So I did not recruit her. That is one thing clear.
You are not under investigation. We are just saying, has she ever mentioned, shared with you anything to do with that Form 5?
Among her duties as PA, there's nothing to do with Form 5. So I'm just hearing it from here. Okay. I don't know what Form 5 is.
Honorable Minister Bahat, lastly.
No, sorry, this is just really on the lighter note. My colleague, when she was submitting about vehicles, she said that she lost her life recently, and I forgot. And she's here still. And it reminded me when one of the presidents was in Kabale. One of the presidents, the past presidents, he said, Kabale, you are cabbage. And then she had forgotten to say growers. Then he came back and said growers.
Lost my life. I did not lose it, Chair.
Just the last clarification.
Thank you, Chair. To Honorable Bahati, strategically, the former PS indicated a shift of the ministry to Boyabaja within 5 years. Is that still in line with the ministry that now we are 2 years down the road and indeed the ministry is going to shift? Or that's no longer the strategic direction of the ministry vis-a-vis now the investments?
Here I think I can speak maybe on behalf of government that we took a decision that because government renting offices at the moment we're been spending 196 billion by the time we're making a decision, 196 billion. So we took a decision that we should buy land at Bwebaja and build office space using NSSF. So by the time I left Minister of Finance, we had already purchased that land and instructed NSSF to start the process of construction. And the leadership of this project is under the Ministry for Presidency. They can give the details of how far they have gone. But that's the idea which we took, that all the offices, apart from a few of them, security, electoral commission and that, should be shifting in 5 years to Bwebaja so that we have an office campus, a government campus.
We thank you, Honorable Ministers. We still have a session with the engineer. And we wish you a good day. The Honorable Minister wants to make a statement. The microphone is on.
It's on. Thank you, Chairman. I want to thank the committee for bringing all this that is going around our ministry and putting it to the public as you are the people supervising what goes on. And on the positive side of things must be done.
Procedure? You cannot have a procedure. The minister is giving concluding remarks.
But he is only addressing you, Chair. We are not hearing.
Okay, thank you. As I'm saying, that we still thank you again for having called us.
Can you hear him now? So what do we do?
Are we together?
Can you hear him now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm just thanking you, Chairman, and the members of Parliament that have called him in here to make sure that all those things having gone to the public, as you said, the report is going to come up to find out these things must stop as soon as possible, and we get the things going. Otherwise, thank you very much, as we have all thanked you for having brought up these things in public. That is all.
Okay.
And I'm also very happy to see you.
I know.
And you've heard what I've said.
David, I see you tomorrow.
Okay, no problem.
I know you have been looking.
How they awarded it, the qualifications, all the requirements, sorry, all available. Please come in. So, Chairman, Contracts Committee, microphone is yours. There are some documents we asked you for. There are some details you said you need to go and recollect, you do not remember.
Chair, last time I recall you needed to know about the change in the bills of quantities and how it came from one amount to the other. So I went and did...
Maybe you move the microphone, or you move closer to the microphone.
I went and did my consultations with the PDU, and this is the information I want to present to you this afternoon. So, Chair, before there had been an advert which was placed on the electronic government procurement system, and only one person responded, or one company responded to that advert, and that was Ambitious. Before that bidding, there was a pre-bid meeting where there was Ministry of Works, represented by A1 Musalupa Samson, quantity surveyor, and Arinda Asha, senior structural engineer. During the pre-bid meeting, there was an inspection of the building, and when they did the inspection of the building, they discovered that there are some works, such as joinery and the basement, which they had not included in the bills of quantities. So they agreed to include those additional works into the bills of quantities. After the pre-bid meeting, the companies went back, and only Ambitious submitted a bid through the electronic system. Ambitious submitted a bid of about 6.2 billion in view of the additional works that had been made and adding the basement, which had been flooding, which had to be also worked on. Then, because the system had been new, it was difficult for the procurement officer, Mr. Chweltom, to download the document, the bid document. So he called Ambitious and requested them if they could also give a parallel document, a hard copy. During the discussions, it turned out, I think because of time and all that, Ambitious later on indicated that they were no longer interested in doing that procurement job. So we now went back to the drawing board and they started the procurement system once again. It is then that they now invited SALIC and another 2 companies to resubmit, to bid based on the new BOQs with the additional works. Of course, they had not costed them, they just give them to them, and they costed. And when they costed, that is when SALIC came up also with almost a similar figure, which indicated to the PDU that the market survey and assessment that had been done was indeed in line with the costs and prices out there in the market. So that restricted bidding was done. It was sent out to 3 companies, SALIC and 2 others, and SALIC came out as the best evaluated bidder. Mr. Chairman, that is how you asked me how the change in the bills of quantities had come about last time, and I requested to go and do my research, and that is the information that I have been able to come up with. Thank you, sir.
Did you ever look at the BOQs of the Ministry of Works during your contracts committee meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I did not have an opportunity to look at the BOQs of Ministry of Works.
So you had no knowledge that they even existed?
Officially, I had no knowledge that they had come in, but I had not looked at them. I knew that Ministry of Works was working.
Officially, you had knowledge that they had come in?
No, informally.
Formally, you had knowledge that they were there. During your contracts committee meeting, why didn't you take interest in looking at them? Because you have said formally you were aware that they had come in, but you didn't even take any single interest to look at the amounts of money in the BOQs of Ministry of Works, and you decided to use what you had.
Mr. Chairman, the way the procurement is designed, it is intended to remove, to separate duties and responsibilities.
I am aware
Because
that is the evaluation committee. However, the contracts committee has specific roles.
if we involve ourselves now into going into determining prices and the rest.
So it was discussed.
No, I'm saying that we
You have
did
said the committee said if we get involved in prices at this time, it may cause problems, so you discussed it.
No, I'm not saying we said that. Our principle
You
is
don't
that
need to keep switching on and off the microphone. Leave it.
Okay, sir.
Now you start.
Our principle is that we allow the PDU, the procurement and disposal unit, to do their work. They bring to us the market assessment rates, and we start from there.
What are the roles of the contracts committee?
We do not second guess them.
What are the roles of the contracts committee?
To receive the documentation from the PDU, look at it and ensure that they have the proper documents, and then approve the award or reject them.
Value for money. Do you have any role related to value for money?
The market assessments and the costs are left to the PDU. Of course, if something is outrageously.
In the responsibilities of the contracts committee, do you have any role that states value for money?
Yes, I'm sure it is there.
So you have it. You got formal information that there was... Informal information that there were BOQs from the Ministry of Works. You said, your committee said at that point you don't want to get involved in issues of prices.
Sir, I didn't say that.